Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to a new video, and we're going to be talking about what just happened November 22nd in Riyadh. We're talking Devin Haney versus Brian Norman Jr. for the WBO Welterweight title. Now, as you guys know, Devin Haney beat Brian Norman, unanimous decision, knocked him down in the second round with a clean combo, and probably, I don't know if it's confirmed, but appeared to shatter Norman's nose and pretty much cruised to an easy decision win. And like I said in my previous video, I said it was a mismatch. I said that Haney was levels above, and I said this fight would not be that close. And that was kind of an unpopular opinion at the time. A lot of people were hating on Haney. They thought he was damaged goods. They thought he had PTSD. While Norman was looking strong, he brutally knocked out Jin Saki. He had the momentum. He was a stronger fighter. It was his weight class, and he was a slight favorite. And I disputed that. I didn't think that Haney should have been the underdog. I looked at the resumes. I said that Norman struggled with journeyman level boxers, which is true. Haney was much more dominant against way higher level opposition. And that proved to be the case, that Haney's experience and was obviously just a more skilled and dynamic boxer and allowed him to win. So now I'm going to go break down the fight and kind of just, give an overview of how Haney beat Norman. And I think the first thing that was apparent that Norman does not have very good footwork, right? You can just see how he was moving around the ring. He looked kind of stuck in mud at times. He has, he was not fluid. He just wasn't, dynamic compared to Haney, who looked way more comfortable in there, really using the entirety of the ring to get out of power shots from Norman. And I think that, if Norman, if he wants to regroup, because I don't think Norman is a bad boxer, right? Is he an elite level boxer? No, but I do believe he's world level, right? And I think he can get a belt again, but he's going to have to make improvements, especially against these top level guys. And the footwork and the movement overall of Norman was not impressive at all. And another thing that I noticed is that Haney used the clinch very well. Now, I know people have criticized Haney's fighting style as kind of a jabbing clinch, which, while not the most aesthetically or entertaining style of fighting, is very effective. But Norman, he did initiate some clinches, especially kind of in the early and mid rounds. Was kind of trying to rough up Haney. He's trying to move him around. And one thing I noticed is that Haney was actually, I was around equal level strength of Norman. I personally was a little bit surprised by this. I thought Norman, being the naturally a little bit bigger fighter, because you have to keep in mind Haney, was at 135 up until 2023, right? So I thought Norman was going to kind of rough him up, kind of move Haney around, but Haney was holding his own in those clinches, and it did not look like he was a smaller fighter or a weaker fighter at all. And towards the end, Haney actually was using the clinches really well, and Norman was not able to fight out of them. So I think the clinch work is an underrated part of boxing. Is it my favorite style of fighting? No, but I did notice that Haney was able to use the clinch well at a new weight class against a guy who was supposed to be way stronger than him. So that was, something that I was impressed by. And also, I think Norman's overall inexperience with a high level boxer showed, right? I was talking about how Haney has fought Regis Prograis, Jose Ramirez, former unified champion, Vasily Lomachenko, will probably be a Hall of Famer. Brian Garcia, even though he lost, is I would say, a world level fighter. Gamboa, I was talking about how Haney has fought much higher level opposition than Norman. And I saw a couple people in the comments discounting that because they're from the lower weight classes. But we have to keep in mind, bro, in boxing, honestly, these guys, sometimes they're cutting a lot of weight that they can move up weight classes easier than you think. And a lot of the time when you move up weight classes, it actually benefits you. I think it can help with your power sometimes when you're less dehydrated. It can help with your punch resistance. It can help with your energy levels. So to discount, because they're at a lower weight class, yeah, he fought better opposition, but it doesn't really matter. a lot of those guys at those lower weight classes could go up and would beat, the opposite, be successful, right? Like, yeah, Lomachenko is a smaller guy, Regis Prograis is a smaller guy, but they could probably beat anyone on Brian Norman's resume, for being honest, despite the weight disparity. And also, Norman did not adjust his game plan. He had kind of this, I mean, you could tell he was relying on the left hook. I mean, that was obvious. Haney also showed really good defense as well. I saw a stat on X that Norman only landed like 59 punches and threw over 400. So he was not connecting at all. I mean, there was like maybe like one or two times Haney got his head snapped back a little bit, but it was like he barely landed anything, to be honest, especially anything of consequence. And that's what happens when you fall in love with your power, but also fall in love with a specific punch, is that it can lead to you being one dimensional and being predictable. And that's a strategy that works more at heavyweight, where those guys can put you out with like any shot. But at these lower weight classes, that's not really the best game plan. Like, you have to load up on your shots, you really have to plant your feet, and it's just too predictable and too basic of a game plan to succeed against higher level fighters. So Norman definitely needs work on his punch variety and just become a higher level IQ fighter in general, because he was just like loading up on that basic, jab, left hook combo. And it was just like Haney could see that from a mile away. That wasn't going to land. And we have to give Haney credit too for sticking to his game plan. Now, I'll be honest, the one criticism I have is that when he knocked Norman down in the second, I kind of wish that he could have pushed for a finish. Norman was hurt. He's on wobbly legs, but Haney kind of let off the gas a little bit. And Haney's not that guy, type of fighter. Like, he's fine going to decision. He's fine coasting. And I understand why people, don't like that style of fighting. So, but you have to give Haney credit that he stuck to the game plan. He was still wary of Norman's power, which was smart. Norman was still, he recovered into the mid rounds, and he decided, I'm just stick to my game plan. It's working, and yeah, I mean, I gotta give Haney credit for that. Not every boxer does that. And finally, as I touched on earlier, people have to stop saying, "Oh, he looked good in his last fight. He didn't look that great in his last fight. Therefore, this guy wins." Like, now we have to do resume reviews, especially when it's with a fighter like Norman, who's still somewhat unproven. And I think that's just a main takeaway, is that overall we have to look at a fighter's entire body of work when analyzing fights. And we also have to analyze styles, right? Styles make fights. And I think that also, that proved to be a huge part of how Haney was successful. But yeah, I'll be doing more breakdowns soon. I'll probably do a video analyzing what's next for Haney, maybe one that's what's next for Norman. And I'll be talking about the future fights coming up in December. But yeah, thanks guys. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe.